Welcome back to my channel. I have not been here for a long time and I miss making videos. I miss sharing things, sharing my wisdom. I've just had a lot going on in the last year, work related, adjusting to different things going on in my life, and that is ongoing. So it's imperative that I figure out how to invest time into filming videos and also having important and relevant things to share with everyone. I just had something happen. It didn't happen necessarily to me, but it definitely affected me internally, and I wanted to bring it up and talk about it. So, also, side note, I've been doing my series Awakening into the Void, and I just really don't like how I've been dragging it out a little too much. So I might tighten that up or just kind of get everything wrapped up on that aspect of things. I just kind of want to do things differently. So I'm still figuring that out. But one of my really good friends, she's also a creator on here. Her channel is called Evolve with Monette. She suggested that I share this revelation or just stuff that I've been experiencing and processing in the past week. And yeah, I'm here to share it. So I titled this video The Father Wound. And I wanted to bring this up, especially for women or femmes, who have had difficult relationships with their fathers and how that is manifested in their relationships. And I have been, to be fully transparent, I have been celibate for a long time, or I just call it abstinent because I'm not a nun. And I haven't been dating for almost 6 years. So it's quite a significant amount of time. But I've also wanted to give myself time to heal from previous relationships or situationships or just kind of messes that I've made throughout the years. And obviously, it's not just me, it takes two and all of that, but I want to take full responsibility in how I show up in connections and, where that comes from, like where my behavior and my reactions and everything comes from. So just the other day, I found out that my first boyfriend, I was a bit of a late bloomer. I didn't have my first boyfriend until I was 19. I found out that he passed away. And it's just interesting how I found out, but it kind of, I feel a little bit of grief just in the sense that, this man has a son and a family, and I'm sure it's devastating for the family and everything. But I want to also be realistic in the sense that that relationship was extremely traumatic for me. And it was such an eye-opener at the time in such a negative way. I was definitely, again, since it was my first relationship or first boyfriend, I was completely innocent in the sense that I didn't know what to expect, or, it was just, everything was kind of new to me. And this person, he was a partier, he was into drugs, and just kind of a menace, definitely a womanizer, and just all over the place. And he used his friends, just a user, a womanizer, an addict, like all the things that you don't want necessarily in a relationship. And especially for me, I was 19 years old. He was like 4 or 5 years older than me. So there was an age gap. All of his friends were older than me. So I was just kind of this young deer coming into this space with a bunch of, I don't want to say wolves, but we'll just say wolves. And it's not to say that I was like innocent or anything like that. I'm a proud Sagittarius. We are wild. We are free spirits. And especially in our younger years, we can be wildin'. So that I was. But as far as like relationships go, this was like the first for me. And yeah, like I said, it was a lot. Like this guy, he was Latino, and but also harbored like, you know, racist ideologies, which, you know, obviously was an issue. And again, it's just like in my youth, you know, you know, when you get older, obviously you have stronger boundaries. But at that age, I was like, I would fight with him over his egregious, you know, mentality and kind of the dumb shit that he would say. Like, we would get into big fights about it, like the dumb racist shit he would say. But I still stayed with him because I was just, you know, ignorant. We'll just say that. But my main point is, the end of our relationship, he basically broke up with me. And this was 20 years ago, mind you. I was 19 years old. This was 20 years ago. So it's a long time. And when he broke up with me, I was shattered because I moved in with him. We were living together. I had abandoned my friendships to a degree. Like, everyone was kind of dispersing. It's not like I abandoned my friendships, but after we broke up, I really didn't have anybody to lean on after that. And I'm pretty sure he was cheating on me in the relationship. And it was just so, and he used me. He, you know, took money from me, like, just wanted me to move in so I would pay half of the rent, you know, the whole 50-50 bullshit. And even though I had to pay, I had my own place that I had to pay for too. So I was contributing to two places at the same time. Crazy. And yeah, it was just a wild fucking time. But the point is that relationship kind of set the tone for me for my relationships following that. And it was, hearing about his passing was really profound for me, because it's like, okay, he's gone now. And this was the first relationship that I entered into after leaving my household, you know, where I grew up with my dad. I mean, he wasn't in the house, but he was there. And he was so fucking toxic, you know, male chauvinist, you know, machismo, all the things, negative towards women. And it's like I didn't conceptualize that growing up. And something my sisters and I kind of coined was this, was like, I mean, you know, maybe I'll share it at another time, but we would say that we were like in a cult in our upbringing, because our dad was just so overbearing in a lot of ways, and it was just kind of his way or the highway. He used, you know, he was a bully in a sense that he would, you know, use his strength and angry emotions to control situations and control us, you know. But I was so dissociated in that relationship with my dad. Like, I couldn't see, even though I could conceptualize, like, oh, he is abusive, it's like I still didn't process that fully. So when I entered this first relationship, it was a similar thing. It's like there was a part of me that was dissociating. It's like I could see that this guy's abusive and not good for me, and yet I couldn't leave, or I didn't leave on my own accord. It's like I had to wait for him to break things off. And, you know, my dad passed away in 2011, and losing him was just like, you know, a huge undertaking of internal work following that. And having to really acknowledge and process who he was in his humanity versus how we pedestalized him and kind of fed into his God complex, which he very much had. And so it's just like leaving that and then starting a relationship with this man who also in a sense had a God complex, but was like extremely insecure. Like I feel like his insecurities were very loud and apparent, and so he was overcompensating for that, but it was all apparent. And I was just really traumatized by that relationship. Like it broke me spiritually, emotionally. It really broke me. I felt so disappointed. I think I, blamed myself. I don't know. I don't think I was in love. I think, it was a huge blow to my ego in a lot of sense, but it was more than anything just a trigger for how much I was disappointed in my dad and his lack of showing up in my life, And so again, it's just like my dad passed away. So after that relationship, it led me to a string of just terrible, either, sexual connections, half-ass relationships, what they call situationships, and just really unhealthy situations, very temporary situations, and for years, up until I basically stopped dating, like almost 6 years ago, or about 6 years ago is when I stopped dating. My ex and I, the last boyfriend that I had, we broke up 6 years ago, and just over 6 years ago. So I've from 19 up until that point, so I'm 39 now, so up until like 33, which is several years, like 13, 14 years, I just had a string of really shitty, negative relationships, and not knowing who I was or how to show up or what I even needed, what I wanted, how to have boundaries, like any of these things. And what I acknowledged recently was like I went from this abusive parenthood of my dad into the arms of another, traumatic situation. And it's no surprise that I was so broken and distraught after that first relationship. I was just in shock of how brutal men can be to their partners, and how much, like being used and discarded was just heartbreaking to me. It was soul shattering to me, especially at that age. It's like, I feel like I was too young. I mean, anybody who experiences something like that, it's just devastating, And so it's just interesting. Like I just wanted to share how his passing and learning of his passing is kind of a death of an era. And, my intentional pause from dating has been in order for me to really get to know who I am and get to know what I want, and align myself with connections that are healthy and suitable and, potentially long lasting, and where there's growth and expansion versus destruction and mayhem. And that's what it was with him. And I felt very strange when I found out. Like I felt kind of weak in my body, or just like my whole body just was aching. And it's interesting. It's like I was having these somatic reactions because I didn't recognize how much I held in after the end of that connection, or how much I didn't process. And again, it's just like I was 19. I didn't even know how to process emotions. I was disconnected from my emotions all to begin with, like in my upbringing, what I learned was that suppressing your emotions keeps you safe. And so things that triggered my emotions, like send shock waves into my body, and I didn't know how to process it. At the time I was drinking a lot and partying, just doing things to kind of avoid feeling things too deeply or too intensely, but it didn't help, obviously. And I don't drink. I really don't drink that much anymore. I'm pretty much sober for the most part. I might have a puff here and there, but other than that, it's like clear head. And it's just, to me, it's really necessary to be in that state so you can be clear on what you're releasing from your system. But again, what I found so profound was the somatic reaction that I was having to hearing of the passing of this person. And the other interesting part is that I feel that I'm kind of in a space where I'm feeling ready to connect with people again, or draw in a healthy connection. And so the symbolism of this person's passing is kind of like it's showing me that not like that era is done, that whole lesson has kind of come to completion, and the last thing for me to do was to move all of that pent up grief and trauma from that time period from 20 years ago and release that from my body. Considering how I could feel it somatically, it was pretty intense. And I did some yoga, some movement. I just went ice skating today, just doing things to kind of revive myself in a way. Like I really felt like I just went through a death, honestly. Letting go of that, all of that bullshit that built up from that very point, and obviously it starts from my childhood with my dad, but that his passing, created work that I had to do. But then this other person's passing, it's like, oh, that's like the grand finale of it all. Like any of the relationships following that, of course they mattered, and they, there was different, I don't want to say traumas, but just different negative experiences that I've had with other men, but this one particularly, again, was the one that set the tone. So yeah, I just wanted to share this because I thought it was pretty interesting, and it's pretty fascinating how things come full circle in our lives sometimes, and how important it is for us to learn how to process our emotions in the moment if we can. And I think something that I would really love to encourage younger people to do, because I wish I would have had someone who taught me how to move through those emotions. I remember following that breakup, I was so angry because that was one of the only emotions I knew how to express. Even though I was really hurt inside, it's like anger was what felt familiar, and that's what I emoted. And I read a book by I wish I'll have to remember his name, but he's a philosopher, and he teaches about how to process your anger. And it was such a pivotal thing for me in self-awareness, that book in particular, and kind of taught me how to slow down in some ways. And so, so much of what we experience is lessons for our soul and for our soul's expansion. And I just implore anyone who's watching to take heed of these experiences and recognize how you may be processing, things that may have hurt you or may be stuck in your body, how you may be releasing those things. So yeah, I just wanted to share something that's on my heart, and I hope, whoever's watching can take something from it. I hope to be filming more videos again soon, and yeah, I hope to see y'all soon. I'm so happy you're here and watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.